Yet he said we need to build an image of the mind. Now, he sat down and he drew this picture. And I'm going to tell you something. Of all the ideas I have learned, this has to be the most valuable. He said, let that represent the mind and the body. Now he said, we're going to take the mind and divide it into two parts. There's the conscious and the subconscious. Now, I know you've read this in books. You get into Murphy's book on the power of the subconscious. It's one of the best you'll ever read, but can still leave you in a confused state because we're reading words and we're getting pictures, but they don't come together. If you don't have a picture of the person, you're going to have difficulty understanding this concept. We can put that back up there. If you let the conscious mind represent the thinking mind, and the subconscious represent the emotional mind. When you think in pictures, so you get an image on the screen of your conscious mind. This is where we gather information too. But you see, you can have information in your conscious mind, it's not going to do you any good. You've got to take and impress that upon the emotional mind. And when you do, it must be expressed through the body, because the body's the instrument of the mind. The body is the only instrument where the conscious and subconscious working together can express themselves. And your results or your actions produce your results. Now, do you see, it's your results you want to change. If you're going to change the results, you've got to change what's going on inside. Now, 9 out of 10 people, when they start thinking of the mind, they get very confused. Most people think of the brain as the mind, but the brain isn't the mind any more than your fingernail is. See, our body is a molecular structure. Yet it's a mass of molecules and a very high speed of vibration. And the vibration the body's in, it's controlled by what's going on in the subconscious mind. Now, you can change your vibration temporarily without any difficulty. Yet changing it permanently, because this is where the paradigm is. Your conscious mind can think, yet can accept or reject. Yet can accept what I'm saying, or it can reject what I'm saying. Yet has that ability. Your subconscious mind doesn't have that ability. Yet it'll accept anything you give to it. Yet it has no ability to reject. It's totally deductive in its nature. Yet it cannot tell the difference between what's imagined and what's real. Yet just accepts images as reality. So we build the images, and that's where our life goes. Now, it's the results you want to change. You've got to get in and understand what's going on in your subconscious mind. Now, there's the baby that arrives on the scene. No conscious faculties developed. Do you know at birth a baby is a linguistic genius? You can teach a baby any language. If you have a new baby, you can teach the baby to read right now before the baby can talk. When it can talk, you can give it a book on the CAT scan and it'll read it to you. You'll say, well, I don't believe that. Well, you don't have to believe it. You've got the ability to reject what I'm saying. Person says, well, I don't believe that. Well, then they wouldn't do it, would they? Go on Google. Look for the name Glenn Doman, D-O-M-A-N. Do a little research into what he's doing. He's taken kids that were considered vegetables and brought them back to a normal state. Yes, he points out there's no such thing as mental retardation. That's a misnomer. There's only brain damage. The mind is perfect. And we've got to understand this. Now, what's ever going on around that baby goes right into that baby's subconscious mind. So what we have to do is ask ourselves, what was it like when I was a baby? What did the people around me think? It's not just what they say. You hear people spelling in front of kids. This is so absurd. You're transferring images from your mind to their mind right through the medium of the molecule. It's thought transference. Those images are going into the baby's mind. I grew up in poverty. If anybody had a job, they were considered lucky. I wake up and thank God I don't have a job every day. Now look at the ideas that go in there over and over and over again, they become fixed there. That's how the mind becomes conditioned. We're conditioned to speak the language we speak. We're conditioned to eat the food we eat. We're conditioned to live the way we live. We're conditioned to meet and greet people the way we meet and greet people. We're conditioned to study or not study. See, the conditioning is better known as the paradigm. This is the program. You and I have had a program written. Now, when you go to change that paradigm, what you want to understand, yes, the vast majority of people are operating on the same kind of a program. Now, after that program has been well saturated into the baby's psyche, and you've got to understand the subconscious mind's in every cell of the body, and the baby develops the conscious faculties, what is that baby going to think? The baby isn't a baby anymore. The self-image is in the paradigm. What the person can do is in the paradigm. Yet it's pathetic when you think of what's in most people's subconscious mind. Yet you see, we can study, but when we're studying, we're getting the idea on a conscious level. This is the intellect. This is what school has been interested in. How much of this can you remember? How much of this can you answer questions on? They don't even pay any attention to the paradigm. This is why we have people who are intellectually absolutely brilliant, and the results are pathetic. You have people that are absolutely brilliant and they're broke. You have other people who are functionally illiterate. They can neither read nor write, and they're multimillionaires. You see, the subconscious mind is where the paradigm is. Now, this is what you want to burn into your mind. Your intellect is grasping what I'm saying right now. Yet your intellect that's taking notes. You are hearing what I say. You're seeing the drawing. Yet it's more school stuff that you're getting in your intellect. It ain't going to do you any good unless you internalize it. Think of this for a moment. The law of attraction responds to the paradigm, not to the intellect. If you're having difficulty getting this information that you're getting here from Harv and the other speakers, from the other seminars, from all the books you're reading, if you're just having difficulty getting it to work, it's the paradigm. You see, if I go back to the early 60s, here I am, no business experience, no formal education, 2 months high school. I had an absolutely horrendous work record, and my income goes, whoa, right up over $1 million. I started cleaning floors. I was prepared to do anything honest to earn money. I had a goal of earning $25,000. I didn't really believe it. Do you know in less than 5 years, I was cleaning floors in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. Whoa! I just did exactly what the book said. What I really did was change the paradigm. See, I thought it was the book. It wasn't the book. I thought it was the record. It wasn't the record. Yet it was the repetition of it. I was getting emotionally involved, and I was cutting away from the people I was associating with. I was driving around with a battery-operated record player, playing records in my car. I wouldn't recommend it. I almost killed myself a number of times. Broke records, bent fenders. But I was addicted. And you see, what I was doing was changing the paradigm and didn't know it. Do you know that most people are extras in their own movie? They really are. It'd be so easy for you to look at me standing here and think, oh, he can. Or watch Harv, oh, he can. Or Robert, oh, he can. Or look at Doug, oh, he can. But me, not me. Do you want to know something? The only difference between you and Doug Maharg, or you and Harv, or me, is results. Yeah, it's awareness. It's understanding. We're all operating with exactly the same power. There is only one power. We're all operating with exactly the same law. It's that some of us have shifted our paradigms. And you know that you can go into almost any major corporation We've just started a new division in our company to go back and start working in major corporations. But you can go into almost any major corporation. They do not know why their top performers are top performers. If they did, they'd bottle it and give it to everybody. And they don't know. Most of them don't even know they don't know. They think that that person has been blessed by some emotional or capricious God to do things a little different. Not true. Their subconscious mind is programmed a little different. Now here's what you want to do. You've got to ask yourself, what do you really want? What do you really want? This is what you're here for. Some of you have traveled long distances. And you'll sit here and you'll gather this information. What do you really want? See, it's not more information that you want. What do you really want? Because until you figure it out, you probably won't change the paradigm. When you figure it out, that's when you'll shift the paradigm. Now think of this for a moment. We're living in a new economy. The economy we were raised in is not the economy we're living in. Yet in the new economy, an individual can turn their annual income into a monthly income. They literally can. Now this can be accomplished by having multiple sources of income. Wealthy people historically have always had multiple sources of income. They haven't had just one or two. Now think of this for a moment. Our world is changing. Yet it's changing at a very rapid clip. The world's not getting bigger, the world's getting smaller. We work all over the world. In a couple of weeks, I got to do a meeting down in San Diego, one day. The next day, I've got to do a meeting in London, England. It wasn't too long ago, that would have been unheard of. We're not a long ways from anywhere. We can go around the world. I do it a few times a year. Do you know you can have business all over the world? You can. I do. Harv does. Many people here do. You can. Yeah, anyone can. Now, if you're going to wait until you figure out how, it ain't going to happen. It's based on a decision. This is what I'm going to do. And you do that, and it starts happening. Now, this is a very important graphic, and I really want you to pay attention to it. Your results are an expression of your level of awareness. What do I mean by that? Well, a person that suffers from headaches, they're not suffering from headaches because they enjoyed a headache. They're suffering from headaches because they're not aware of how to eliminate the headache. Yet it's their head. They made it ache, they can make it stop. They're not a head, they have a head. You never hear anyone say, am head. It's my head. If I make my head ache, I can make my head stop. Now, let the little dot in the center of the screen represent your level of awareness. That represents your level of awareness. Just think of how your results could change if your awareness just expanded that much. Think of this. A person doesn't earn $100,000 a year because they want $100 a year. They're earning $100 a year because they're not aware of how to earn $100 a month. Once they become aware of how to earn $100 a month, they're not going to go back to $100 a year. Awareness isn't memory. I can look and I see a woman in the front row, I see a man in the front row. I'm aware of the difference. You'll say, well, Bob, that's brilliant. Everybody's aware of that. No, everybody isn't. Babies are not aware of the difference in the female personality, female body, male personality, and male body. They have to develop that awareness. Yet it's unfortunate at a very early stage, we put a lid on that, yet then we flip over and start to focus on intellect. Yet it's important we understand what 2 plus 2 is. But it's not as important as we understand awareness. So the question becomes, how do I expand my level of awareness? Well, of course, you're doing it here this weekend. Now, there's other people in Aspen that are not doing it, but you're doing it because it has to do with education. You see, as we start to understand this, our awareness starts to expand. It's through effective education. Now, there's a lot of education that's not effective. We're talking about effective education combined with professional coaching over a reasonable period of time will expand a person's level of awareness. Now, just see, as the awareness expands, it'll never go back. This is what we're after. We want to continually work at this. We want to continually work at expanding our level of awareness. Now, you see, you don't have to know how to do something to decide to do it. As a matter of fact, until you decide, you're never going to figure out how to do it. And if you want to develop your awareness, you make up your mind right now that this is going to be an important subject for you. This is vitally important. You see, when we say this is what I want, and we make a decision to do it, let's understand that we're operating on a certain frequency of thought because we think on frequencies. Now, the thing we want to do is on a higher frequency. Yet we're not going to move to that frequency until we make a decision to do it. The second we make a decision, I'm going to do this, you'll flip onto a higher frequency. There's a number of you that had put a deposit on a house when you didn't know where the balance of the down payment was going to come from on closing day. But you made a decision you're going to have it, and you've got it. I have a friend of mine in Columbus, Ohio, Pat Kearns Davis. Does anybody here know Pat? Somebody must know her. She's a RE/MAX broker in Columbus. When she was 19, she wanted to buy a house. And she was told 19-year-old girls couldn't buy houses. That statement probably changed her life. She said, "Is that right?" Well, today she owns around 300 houses. I asked her one time, "How'd you meet your husband?" She said, "I met him at a party. He asked me what I did, and I said, I buy houses. Do you want to buy a house with me?" That's true. Today they have 5 kids in the same house. He manages all the property. She made up her mind 19-year-old girls can buy houses, and she never stopped buying them. You see, when we make a decision, what follows is the awareness, because we decided this is going to happen, and we don't ever give any thought to why it won't, and then the awareness will start to flow. It's really kind of nice how it happens. Now look at, let that little circle represent your bank. MSI represents multiple sources of income. I was flying to Kuala Lumpur a number of years ago, back around 1990, and I was thinking, what's the difference in wealthy people and people that are having difficulty? And when I'm on a plane, I have a little calculator that I always carry, so I either play with numbers or words. And so I wrote $1 million at the top of the page, and I had earned $1 million years and years ago, and I thought, no, what's the difference? Then I started to think of other wealthy people I knew, yet it suddenly dawned on me, they don't have one income, they have a whole bunch of them. I thought they have multiple incomes. And I wrote down, and then I wrote down multiple sources, and then we changed it to MSI. I got off the plane in Kuala Lumpur, and I phoned Mark Victor Hansen down in southern Florida. He phoned Jack. Jack phoned Lee Pools up in Vancouver. At any rate, we're going to put on a meeting, and we're going to teach people to earn $1 million. Yet we're going to teach them how to set up multiple sources of income. It was in that seminar, I think, in Hawaii, that the Chicken Soup for the Soul books came. Bob Allen picked up the idea, he just called it multiple streams, but he'll tell you that's where he got it. And you see, it came by thinking, how do people become wealthy? They have multiple sources. You can just adding sources of income. You see, money, you don't earn money by working. You get satisfaction from working. We go to work for satisfaction. That's why it's so important we spend our days doing what we love doing. Yeah, it's got nothing to do necessarily with earning money. If you can earn money at it, that's a plus. But you want to set up multiple sources. So you just keep setting up multiple sources of income. Yeah, it's a neat concept. And you can keep doing it. And there's no end to it. You can just keep setting them up. Yeah, you set them up all over the place. And the beauty is they all flow into your bank. And you can take that money and do whatever you want with it. Now, you say, are they all the same size? That looks like a Ferris wheel. No, they're not all the same size. You're going to find some of them are going to be really great and some of them are not that great. But they all flow to the same place. So if we make up our mind, we're going to help everyone feel a little better. We're going to leave everyone we come in contact with the impression of increase. What's going to come back to us? We're going to have good stuff coming back. And then the last part is on gratitude. We should sit down and be truly grateful for everything that comes into our life. We really should. A good way to start, yes, to take a look at what you've got in your life. There's so much good in your life now. You could start thinking of the friends you've got. Start thinking of the health you got. I was 73 last Thursday. I got more energy than most people, 23. You see? Yeah. I have absolutely no intentions of slowing down. I figure if my heart can go at warp speed, so can I. I mean, he's been doing it a little longer than me. But you see, age should have nothing to do with this. Yet our mental attitude, it's where we're going and what we're doing. And if we fall in love with the idea of improving in everything we do, now you're going to get criticized. You will always get criticized if you're out cutting a new path. And if you let the critics control you, you are done. I watch what T.Harv has done in this industry because I watched him start. I've watched a lot of people in this industry over 39 years. I know where the dead are buried. I see them come and I see them go. Yet I'm familiar with the ones that stay. You got a real top performer coming up here yet today. Well, there's a couple of them. But we want to ask ourselves, how can I put more out? And we're going to find if we become truly grateful for what we've got, we're so happy about our health, our relationships, the work we're doing, the way we're spending our days. We get into such a phenomenal vibration, you've got to attract good stuff to you. And then it just keeps getting better. Now, remember this saying. I love it. I picked it up a long time ago. The main thing, yes, to keep the main thing, the main thing. Now, we've got to ask ourselves, what is the main thing? Well, I believe the main thing is our lifestyle. I really, truly do. We get one bite at the apple. So far as we know, this is it. We've got one life. Yet we can really live it, or we can just put in time. But if we give it everything we've got, and then I believe if you get money in the right slot, really understand it. Understand what it's for. Absolutely refuse to let it control you. You control it. Money makes a terrible master, but one of the best servants that you're ever going to find. Yet when you hear people say, well, I don't want money, I just want to help people do good. I like what Waddell said in The Science of Getting Rich. If you want to help people, get rich first. Because the good you can do without money is confined to your own physical presence. With money, you can extend the good that you do far beyond your own physical presence. Do you know, in studying this, I've talked about money for a long time. I hear T.Harv, I don't know, somewhere I just was recently, and I heard him, and he was really pounding this area. Not a lot of people do. And they don't because the masses try and shut you down. When you hear people say money won't make you happy, that's generally a defense mechanism of a poor person. It really is. Yet it was never meant to make you happy. Money's meant to make you comfortable. You know, when somebody says money's not meant to make you happy, or money's not going to make you happy, you want to tell them they can't drive around town in a refrigerator either. And they're going to look at you rather strange and say, well, if you want to get involved in ridiculous statements, I might as well share one. You see, refrigerators are meant to preserve food. Money's meant to make you comfortable. It's not meant to make you happy. Yet if we stop and ask ourselves what we're really capable of doing, then understand we need a team. We cannot do it alone. We absolutely must have a team. Do you know, in Think and Grow Rich, I took I've taken many paragraphs out of there and burned them into my mind, but there's one that Carnegie gave Hill. He said, the accumulation of great fortune calls for power. Yet power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. But he said that knowledge does not necessarily have to be in the possession of the person who accumulates the fortune. You can get other people to help you. And there's all kinds of people just waiting and wanting to help you. But you may have to ask them. And you've got to have an objective. You've got to have a big picture that you're going after. Something that's absolutely huge. And if you really want to get into studying something, make a decision that you're going to study you. We're not taught how to make decisions in school. We're not taught to earn money, and we're not taught how to make decisions. Decision is when we give ourselves a command and follow it. Say, this I will do. And we don't have to know how to do it. We only have to know we're going to do it.